You check the time on your phone. It's 7:30 p.m. You've been in the building since 8 a.m. The office is mostly empty, just the hum of the HVAC system and the cleaning crew emptying the trash bins in the hallway. You're the last one in your row of cubicles. You tell yourself this is dedication. You tell yourself this is what it takes. You send that final email, close the laptop, and feel that familiar ache in your lower back. It's a dull, throbbing reminder of the chair you've been glued to for 11 hours. You pack your bag, walk to the elevator, and press the button. You feel virtuous. You feel heavy, but virtuous. You put in the work today. You didn't slack off. You didn't take a long lunch. You ground. But then you get to the parking lot. You get into your car, the car that is 5 years old and making a strange noise when you turn the ignition. You merge onto the highway, and you're stuck in traffic. Again, you look at the taillights ahead of you, a sea of red stretching out into the darkness. Thousands of people, just like you, inching forward, exhausted, drained, heading home to heat up leftovers and watch 2 hours of Netflix before passing out to do it all again. And a thought creeps in. It's a quiet, dangerous thought. You usually push it away, but tonight, you're too tired to fight it. The thought is, if I'm working this hard, why am I still struggling? Let that sink in. You aren't lazy. In fact, you work harder than anyone you know. You say yes to every project. You take the overtime. You work weekends when asked. You have followed the script perfectly. The script they gave you in school. The script your parents read to you at the dinner table in the 90s. Work hard. Keep your head down. Be loyal. And you will be rewarded. That was the contract. You signed it in blood and sweat. But look at your life. Really look at it. You look at your bank account at the red light. The number hasn't moved significantly in 3 years. Inflation has moved. Rent has moved. The cost of groceries has moved. But your savings? It's stagnant. You are running on a treadmill set to the maximum incline, sprinting until your lungs burn, sweat pouring down your face, and you haven't moved an inch. You are trading your life force, hour by hour, for a currency that is losing value every second you hold it. And then you see them. Maybe it's the guy who started that digital agency. Maybe it's the woman who invests in real estate. Maybe it's just the owner of the company you work for. You see them on social media, or you see them walking out of the office at 2 p.m. on a Friday with golf clubs. They look different than you. They don't have bags under their eyes. They don't carry that frantic, nervous energy of someone terrified of losing their job. They look light, and it makes you angry. It makes you furious. You tell yourself they are lucky. You tell yourself they must be scammers, or they had rich parents, or they are cutting corners. You whisper to yourself, at least I'm honest. At least I'm doing it the right way. You cling to your suffering like it's a moral victory. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor. You think that because you are suffering, you are good. Wrong. You are not good. You are inefficient. You are operating on a software update from 1995 that is incompatible with the modern world. You are playing a game that ended 20 years ago. The anger you feel when you see someone making 10 times your salary with 1/10 of your effort isn't moral outrage. It's jealousy. And it's the painful, gut-wrenching realization that you have been scammed. You have been sold a lie that benefits everyone except you. The school system needed obedient workers, so they taught you to sit still and follow instructions. The corporation needs reliable labor, so they glorify the grind and the hustle. They need you to believe that hard work is the only path to success, because if you realize the truth, you would stop pushing the boulder up the hill. You would put the boulder down and ask why you're building a pyramid for someone else's tomb. Here is the uncomfortable truth nobody at your job will tell you. The market does not care how hard you work. The economy does not care how tired you are. The world does not pay you for your effort. It pays you for the value you create and the scarcity of your problem solving. And right now, your hard work is easily replaceable. You are digging a ditch with a spoon because you were told that spoons are noble. Meanwhile, the people you call lazy are renting excavators. They aren't working hard. They are working smart. And in the ruthless mathematics of the real world, the person with the lever always beats the person with the sweat. You will die poor if you keep working hard, not because you lack drive, but because you are driving with the parking brake on. You are an engine redlining in neutral, making a lot of noise, burning a lot of fuel, and going absolutely nowhere. Pause for a second. Look at your hands. Look at the stress in your shoulders. Is this sustainable for another 10 years? Another 20? Do you think if you just type faster, if you just answer more emails, if you just stay 1 hour later, the breakthrough will come? It won't. Because you cannot outwork a broken strategy. You cannot labor your way out of a leverage problem. The harder you work within this system, the more you validate your own enslavement. You are tightening the chains with your own hands, polishing the bars of your own cage, and expecting the warden to give you a medal for it. The medal is never coming. The breakthrough is never coming. Not as long as you worship at the altar of hard work. You are walking directly toward a cliff, and you think that if you just walk faster, you'll learn how to fly before you hit the bottom. You won't. You're just going to hit the bottom sooner. Think back to the very first time you learned how to behave. You're 6 or 7 years old. You're walking into a room with 30 other kids. The walls are painted a sterile, non-offensive beige. There are rows of desks, all facing forward. You want to run. You want to ask questions. You want to play. But then, a loud, jarring bell rings. Clang. What happens? You freeze. Everyone freezes. You sit down. You shut up. You look forward. This was the installation of your operating system. It happened before you could read, before you could write, before you could think for yourself. You were being programmed, day after day, for 12 years. And what was the core command of that program? Compliance. You learned very quickly that success meant obedience. If you sat still for 6 hours, you were good. If you memorized exactly what the teacher told you and repeated it back to them without changing a word, you were smart. If you asked why, or if you tried to do it a different way, you were disruptive. You were punished. You were trained to be an input-output machine. Input, instructions. Output, labor. Reward, gold star. Now, fast forward 20, 30 years. Look at your life today. You wake up to an alarm, the bell. You commute to a building with sterile, beige walls. You sit in a row of desks, cubicles. You wait for someone to tell you what to do. And when you finish the task, you sit there, wagging your tail, waiting for a good job from your manager. You think you're a professional. You think you're a grown adult making career choices. You're not. You are a fourth grader who got taller. You are still sitting in that classroom, desperate for the teacher's approval, terrified of being sent to the principal's office. But here is the dark history lesson they didn't teach you in that classroom. That school system, it wasn't designed to make you a thinker. It wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed in the early 20th century by industrialists who had a massive problem. They had built these giant factories, these leviathans of industry, and they needed bodies. They needed millions of people who could tolerate boring, repetitive, soul-crushing labor for 12 hours a day without rebelling. They didn't need leaders. Leaders cause strikes. Leaders ask for more money. Leaders questioned the system. They needed bees. They needed cogs. So they built a school system to manufacture them. They built a system that stripped away your curiosity and replaced it with a craving for structure. And then you went home, and the programming was locked in by the people who loved you most. Your parents. They sat you down at the dinner table in the 90s. They looked at you with love in their eyes and said, "Work hard. Get good grades. Get a safe job. Be loyal." They weren't lying to you. They were telling you the truth about their world. In 1970 or 1990, the hard work contract was still valid. If you were a loyal factory worker or a dedicated corporate man, the company took care of you. You got a pension. You got a gold watch. You could buy a house on a single income. The trade-off, your freedom for their security, was a fair deal. But your parents gave you a map for a world that no longer exists. You were running a 1990s operating system on 2024 hardware. You were trying to apply factory worker logic to a digital economy. You are meticulously following the rules of a game that ended when the internet was invented. You keep your head down. You get overlooked. You do exactly what you're told. You get replaced by an algorithm that does it faster. You work harder. You just get more work. This is why you feel that cognitive dissonance every Sunday night. Your brain is telling you, "I did everything right. I followed the rules. Why am I not winning?" Because the rules were designed to keep you on the assembly line, not to let you own the factory. You are playing the role of the good employee perfectly. You are the perfect student. But in the real world, the A student works for the C student. The C student didn't care about the rules. The C student didn't care about the gold star. The C student was too busy figuring out how to own the school. You are trapped in a factory setting, trying to grind your way to freedom. But the factory has no exit for the workers. It only has exits for the owners. And as long as you view hard work as the ultimate virtue, you are simply the best functioning machine on the floor. And what do we do with good machines? We run them until they break. It's Saturday morning. You finally have a moment to yourself. You wake up without an alarm. The sun is shining. You pour a cup of coffee and sit on the couch. For about 5 minutes, it's nice. Then it starts. A low-grade anxiety hums in your chest. You look at the clock. 10 a.m. You feel a twitch in your fingers, an urge to check your email. You start thinking about the laundry. You start thinking about the report due on Tuesday. You start thinking about the side hustle you promised yourself you'd start but haven't. You feel guilty. You feel guilty for sitting down. You feel guilty for resting. A voice in your head whispers, "You are being lazy. You should be doing something." So you get up. You don't need to clean the garage, but you do it anyway. You don't need to reorganize your files, but you do it anyway. You fill the silence with movement because stillness terrifies you. Why? Why does the absence of suffering make you feel worthless? Because you have internalized the noble slave programming. This is the deepest, darkest layer of the hard work scam. You have been taught that suffering is a virtue. You have been conditioned to believe that if something is easy, it is suspicious. If you aren't sweating, bleeding, or stressing, you aren't earning your keep. Think about how you talk to your friends. It's a competition of misery. You go to happy hour and someone asks, "How's work?" You don't say, "It's great. I automated my job and worked 4 hours this week." No, you say, "Oh man, I'm swamped. I'm drowning. I worked until midnight 3 times this week." You say it with a sigh, but look closer. You are bragging. You are waiting for them to say, "Wow, you work so hard." You are holding up your exhaustion like a trophy. You are proving your value through your pain. This is exactly why you will die poor if you keep working hard. Because you are chasing the wrong currency. You are chasing struggle points, but the bank only takes dollars. Here is the brutal truth the world hides from you. The economy needs you to be this way. Civilization is built on a pyramid structure. For the guy at the top to sit in the penthouse and make one phone call that earns him $1 million, there need to be 10,000 people at the bottom carrying the bricks, answering the phones, and driving the trucks. The system requires a massive, permanent underclass of people who believe that labor is the only way to survive. If everyone woke up tomorrow and realized that hard work is a scam, the entire structure would collapse. Who would flip the burgers? Who would data enter the spreadsheets? Who would do the things that destroy the body and numb the mind? So, society created a brilliant psychological trick. They couldn't pay you enough to make the slavery worth it. So, they paid you in morality. They told you that the poor, hard worker is noble. They told you that the rich, leverage user is greedy or evil. They made you proud of your chains. They gave you movies where the underdog works hard and wins, which rarely happens. They gave you songs about the working man. They stroked your ego so you wouldn't look at your paycheck. You look at a wealthy business owner, someone who makes money while they sleep, and you judge them. They don't know what real work is. You say, wiping sweat from your forehead. You feel superior to them morally, even as they crush you financially. That moral superiority is the consolation prize for the loser. It's the story you tell yourself to sleep at night in a bed you don't own, in an apartment you can barely afford. I may be poor, but at least I'm hardworking. Pause. Stop and listen to that sentence. It is a confession. It is an admission that your strategy has failed. In the 1800s, hard work was physical slavery. In the 2020s, it is mental slavery. The chains are no longer made of iron. They are made of guilt. You are your own slave driver. You whip yourself when you slow down. You deny yourself rest because you think you haven't earned it yet. But here is the reality of the smart work versus hard work dynamic. The person who works the hardest usually makes the least. The construction worker destroys his body for a fraction of what the architect makes sitting in an air-conditioned office. The nurse runs 10 miles a shift for a fraction of what the hospital administrator makes in a meeting. This isn't fair. It isn't nice. But it is the truth. The market rewards leverage, not effort. And as long as you cling to this noble slave identity, as long as you feel guilty for not suffering, you will never seek leverage. You will just keep looking for heavier rocks to carry, hoping that one day, the world will pay you for your back pain. It won't. It will just watch you break, replace you with a fresh 22-year-old who is willing to suffer for even less money, and forget you ever existed. Let's talk about the 15th and the 30th of the month. You wake up. You check your phone. You see a notification from your banking app. A green number. A deposit. For a brief, fleeting moment, your shoulders drop. The knot in your stomach loosens. You can pay the rent. You can buy groceries. You can pay the minimum on your credit card. You feel safe. That feeling, that wave of relief, that is the most dangerous drug on the planet. That feeling is exactly how they keep you trapped. There was a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. He was famous for putting rats in boxes. He discovered something called operant conditioning. It's simple. If you put a rat in a box and give it a food pellet every time it presses a lever, the rat will press the lever until it dies. It won't try to escape the box. It won't try to explore the world outside. It will just sit there, staring at the lever, pressing it over and over again, waiting for the pellet. You are the rat. Your cubicle is the box. The hard work is the lever. And the salary is the pellet. The modern workplace is a Skinner box designed to kill your ambition. The salary is not a reward for your success. It is a sedative for your dreams. Nassim Taleb, the former trader and philosopher, famously said that the three most harmful addictions are heroin, carbohydrates, and a monthly salary. Why? Because a salary acts as a psychological anesthetic. It numbs you to the reality of your potential. When you know exactly how much money is coming in every 2 weeks, you stop looking for opportunities. You stop taking risks. You stop hunting. In the wild, a wolf has to be smart to eat. It has to be fast. It has to cooperate. It has to take risks. If it doesn't, it starves. But a dog in a kennel? A dog just has to sit. It just has to wait. It just has to not bite the hand that feeds it. Hard work in a corporate job transforms you from a wolf into a domesticated dog. You lose your fangs. You lose your ability to survive in the wild economy. You become terrified of the uncertainty of starting a business or investing because you have become addicted to the certainty of the pellet. But here is the catch, and this ties directly back to why you will die poor if you keep working hard. The pellet is calculated. The people setting your salary have a very specific equation. They need to pay you exactly enough so that you don't quit, but not a penny more than that. If they paid you enough to be financially free, you would leave. You would buy your freedom. So they calibrate the pellet perfectly. They give you just enough to finance a comfortable misery, just enough to buy a car you drive to work, a house. You sleep in between shifts, and clothes you wear to the office. They are financing your ability to keep working for them. And the mechanism they use to enforce this is compliance, not performance. Test this tomorrow. Try to be efficient. Try to finish your 8-hour workload in 3 hours. Do it perfectly. What happens? Do they say, "Great job. Go home. Here's your full pay"? No. They give you more work. They punish your efficiency with more labor. You realize very quickly that working hard and finishing early is a stupid strategy. So what do? You learn to perform. You learn to drag a 2-hour task out for 8 hours. You learn to look busy. You learn to sigh loudly and type furiously when the boss walks by. You aren't working hard. You are acting like you are working hard. This is psychological degradation. You are spending the majority of your waking life pretending to be busy so that you can continue to receive a pellet that is barely enough to survive. You are training your brain to believe that money comes from time served, not value created. This is the psychology of compliance. They have trained you to believe that your time belongs to them. They have trained you to ask for permission to go to the doctor. They have trained you to ask for permission to take a vacation. You are a grown adult asking another grown adult if you can have Tuesday off. Let that sink in. As long as you are in this dynamic, you cannot get rich. You cannot get ahead. Because the system is designed to consume your energy, not to multiply it. You are trading your limited time for a capped salary. It is a mathematical impossibility to get wealthy this way. The rat never owns the box. The rat never owns the lever. The rat just dies in the corner, wondering why the pellets stopped coming. You're scrolling through your phone on your lunch break. You see a kid, maybe 22 years old, sitting in a car that costs more than your house. He's talking about how he made $50,000 last month, selling digital products, or trading crypto, or running ads. He looks relaxed. He looks happy. And you hate him. A visceral, acidic wave of disgust rolls through your stomach. You sneer at the screen. You mutter the 3 most dangerous words in the English language. Must be nice. You tell yourself he's a scammer. You tell yourself it's daddy's money. You tell yourself he's going to crash and burn. You desperately search for a reason to invalidate his success. You need him to be a fraud. You need him to be a bad person. Why? Why does his success feel like a personal attack on you? Because if he is real, then you are wrong. If it is possible to make $50,000 a month without suffering, without grinding, without destroying your body, then what the hell have you been doing for the last 10 years? This is the ego of suffering. This is the psychological defense mechanism that keeps you poor. You have built your entire identity around the idea that you are a hard worker. It is the only thing you have. You don't have the money. You don't have the freedom. You don't have the time. But you have the struggle. You treat your exhaustion like a moral currency. When you see someone who didn't pay the price you paid, but got the reward you wanted, it breaks your reality. It implies that your suffering was optional. And that is a thought too painful to bear. So, you double down. You retreat into your hard work bunker. You tell yourself, I'm earning my money the honest way. I'm earning it with sweat. You turn your lack of leverage into a virtue signal. You see this in families all the time. The uncle who worked in a coal mine or a factory for 40 years looks at the nephew who makes money on a laptop. The uncle calls him lazy. The uncle says, get a real job. Why? Because the uncle is terrified. Deep down, in the darkest part of his mind, he suspects that he wasted his life. He suspects that he didn't have to suffer that much. To admit that smart work exists is to admit that his hard work was, in part, a failure of strategy. So, to protect his ego, he attacks the leverage. He attacks the technology. He attacks the change. You are doing the exact same thing. You are choosing to remain poor because it validates your past choices. You would rather be right and broke than wrong and rich. This is why you stay busy. Have you ever noticed that when you have free time, you panic? You invent tasks. You answer emails that don't need answers. You clean things that are already clean. You use hard work as a hiding place. As long as you are drowning in work, you don't have to think. You don't have to strategize. You don't have to face the scary question, is this vehicle actually going anywhere? You can just say, I'm doing my best. I'm working so hard. It's the perfect excuse. If you fail, you can say, well, I gave it everything I had. But you didn't give it everything. You gave it your effort, but you didn't give it your brain. You didn't give it the courage to stop, look at the map, and realize you're running full speed in the wrong direction. You are addicted to the feeling of effort because it mimics progress. But effort is not progress. Movement is not direction. A rocking chair moves more than anything else in the room, but it never goes anywhere. You are a rocking chair, and you are angry at the people building airplanes. You will die poor if you keep working hard, because your ego demands that you keep rocking. You are so committed to the bit, so committed to the role of this suffering hero, that you are blinding yourself to the exit door standing wide open right in front of you. You look at the exit, the leverage, the smart work, the new opportunity, and you sneer. That looks too easy, you say? That's cheating. No, it's not cheating. It's evolution. And while you sit there feeling morally superior about your struggle, the world is moving on without you. Let's put your life on a whiteboard. Let's look at the math that is currently guaranteeing your poverty. It's a simple equation, and it's the cage you live in. Income equals time times value. That is the equation of the hard worker. You put in time, hours, you provide value, labor, and you get income, money. Now, look at the variables. Value. You can increase it slightly. You can get a degree, learn a new skill, get a promotion. Maybe you go from $20 an hour to $50 an hour. Maybe If you're a doctor or a lawyer, you get to $500 an hour. That's great. You feel rich. But look at the other variable, time. Time is the ceiling. Time is the iron bar across the top of your graph. You have 24 hours in a day. You have to sleep. You have to eat. You have to commute. At maximum, absolute maximum, you can sell maybe 12 to 14 hours a day before your body shuts down. This means your income is mathematically capped. It has a hard limit. You cannot work 100 hours a day. You cannot be in two places at once. As long as your income is tied to your physical presence, as long as you have to do the work to get the money, you are trapped in a linear game. Getty Images. Explore. This is the linear math of poverty. Now, let's add the enemy, inflation. Inflation is exponential. The cost of housing, healthcare, and education is compounding. Your linear salary, even if you get a 3% raise every year, is losing the race against an exponential curve. You are running on a flat road while the ground beneath you is tilting upward at 45 degrees. You are working harder just to stay in the same place. This is why you feel like you're drowning. Because mathematically you are. Now, look at this smart worker. Look at the person you call lazy. They operate on a different equation. They have decoupled their time from their money. They don't sell hours. They build assets. An asset is something that works when you don't. A YouTube video is an asset. You record it once, hard work, and it plays for thousands of people while you sleep, smart work. Code is an asset. You write the software once, hard work, and it runs for 1 million users simultaneously without you lifting a finger, smart work. Capital is an asset. You invest money once, and it compounds forever, smart work. The smart worker is not limited by time. Their income equation looks like this. Income equals asset value times scale. Notice that time is not in the equation. If you write a book, you can sell 1 copy or 1 million copies. It takes the same amount of effort from you. The effort is fixed, but the reward is infinite. That is leverage. You, the hard worker, are carrying buckets of water from the river to the village. You are strong. You are noble. You carry 2 buckets at a time. You run back and forth, sweating, panting. Look at how hard I'm working, you shout. And you get paid a penny per bucket. The smart worker is building a pipeline. For the first month, the smart worker is making 0 money. They are digging a trench. They are welding pipes. You laugh at them. Look at him, you say. He's not carrying any water. He's broke. I've made $10 today, and he's made nothing. I'm winning. But on day 31, the smart worker finishes the pipeline. They turn the spigot on. The water flows. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, gallons upon gallons. They stop working. They sit down. They watch the water flow, and they get paid for every drop. Suddenly, their income is 1,000 times higher than yours, and they aren't even there. This is the difference between linear effort and exponential leverage. You will die poor because you are addicted to the instant gratification of the bucket. You want the guaranteed paycheck at the end of the week. You are terrified of the unpaid time it takes to build the pipeline. You say, I can't afford to stop carrying buckets. Wrong. You can't afford not to. Because one day, your back will give out. One day, you will get too old to run to the river. One day, the village won't need your buckets anymore. And when that day comes, if you don't have a pipeline, you die of thirst. The smart worker understands that hard work is only valuable if it is used to build something that replaces you. If you are working hard at a job that requires you to show up tomorrow to get paid again, you aren't building wealth. You are just maintaining your captivity. You need to stop asking, How can I work harder? You need to start asking, how can I remove myself from this equation? Until you answer that question, you are just a highly paid serf. You are renting your lifestyle from your employer, and the rent is due every single morning at 9 a.m. You are sitting in a meeting. The CEO walks in. He looks rested. He listens for 10 minutes, asks 2 questions, and then says, "Let's go with option B." He stands up, shakes a few hands, and leaves. Total time worked, 15 minutes. Value created. The company pivots, stock goes up, he makes $5 million. You go back to your desk. You spend the next 6 months executing option B. You work late. You miss your kid's soccer game. You stress eat. Total time worked, 1,000 hours. Value captured, you get your standard paycheck. Maybe a 2% bonus. You look at the CEO and think, he barely did anything. That's not fair. You are missing the point. You are judging him by the volume of his labor. The market is judging him by the impact of his judgment. This is the secret of the lazy winner. The wealthy do not focus on output. They focus on leverage. Leverage is the force multiplier that allows 1 unit of input to produce 1,000,000 units of output. There are 4 specific types of leverage. The rich use all of them. You use none of them. 1. Labor leverage, other humans. This is the oldest game in town. The factory owner hires you. You produce $50 of value an hour. He pays you $20. He keeps the $30 spread. He is leveraging your time to buy his freedom. If he hires 1,000 of you, he is making money 1,000 times faster than he could alone. The trap: you are the leverage. You are the battery powering someone else's machine. 2. Capital leverage. Money. This is the banker's game. You work hard to save $1,000. The investor presses a button and moves $10 million into a stock. The stock goes up 10%. He makes $1 million in a second. The trap: you think it takes money to make money, so you never start. But you don't need millions. You need to stop spending your seed corn. Every dollar you spend on consumer garbage is an employee you just fired. But here is where the game has changed. This is the smart work you were asking about. This is why a 20-year-old can out-earn a CEO today. 3. Code leverage, the robot army. This is the software engineer or the SaaS founder. They write a piece of code once. That code can run on 1 server or 10,000 servers. It costs almost nothing to replicate. When you solve a problem for a customer, you have to do it again for the next customer. When a coder solves a problem, the code solves it for everyone, forever, while they sleep. Jeff Bezos isn't packing boxes. He built a digital infrastructure, code, that allows millions of transactions to happen without his involvement. 4. Media leverage, the broadcast. This is the YouTuber, the podcaster, the author. If you give a sales presentation to a client, you influence 1 person. If you record that presentation and put it online, you can influence 10 million people. The content is the asset. The internet is the distribution. The cost of reaching 1 more person is 0. This is smart work. Smart work is not cutting corners. Smart work is asking, can I build this once and sell it twice? If the answer is no, if you have to perform the labor every single time you get paid, you are working hard and you are losing. Look at your job right now. Which category are you in? Are you the one writing the code, or the one doing the manual data entry the code could replace? Are you the one creating the media, or the one consuming it? Are you the one hiring, or the one being hired? The lazy winner spends 90% of their time thinking, reading, and waiting. They are sharpening the axe. You are hacking away at the tree with a dull blade, sweating, bleeding, and mocking the guy sitting on the stump. "Why aren't you hitting the tree?" you scream. He looks at you, stands up, and with one swing of his sharp axe, fells the tree. That is judgment. The rich get paid for their judgment, not their time. A surgeon gets paid $50,000 for a 1-hour procedure not because it took an hour, but because it took 20 years of learning to know exactly where to cut. If he cuts the wrong inch, the patient dies. The CEO gets paid for option B because if he chose option A, the company would bankrupt. You are being paid for your toil because the cost of you making a mistake is low. The impact of your work is low. If you want to stop dying poor, you have to move from toil to judgment. You have to move from rent-seeking, selling time, to asset building, creating leverage. Stop taking pride in how many hours you work. That is a metric for slaves. Start taking pride in how many people you can serve without being in the room. That is a metric for kings. The internet has democratized leverage. You don't need permission to write code. You don't need permission to start a channel. You don't need a factory. You have a supercomputer in your pocket. You have the tools of the gods in your hands, and you are using them to watch cat videos and complain about your boss. You think you are playing it safe. This is the final fortress of your denial. You look at the entrepreneur, the creator, the investor, and you say, "That's too risky. I need stability. I have a family. I have a mortgage." So you cling to your job. You cling to that bi-weekly paycheck like a life raft in a storm. You believe that because you show up every day, because you work hard, you are protected. Let me tell you about the turkey. For 1,000 days, the turkey has a great life. Every morning, the farmer comes out. The farmer feeds it. The farmer protects it from foxes. The farmer builds it a warm shelter. From the turkey's perspective, the farmer is its best friend. The turkey's data analysts look at the history and say, "Statistical confidence is high. The farmer loves us. Our food supply is guaranteed. This is a safe job." Every single day, the turkey feels safer than the day before. The history of safety confirms the future of safety. And then comes the 1,001st day, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The farmer doesn't bring food. He brings an axe. In one single afternoon, the turkey's entire reality is shattered. The safety was an illusion. The turkey wasn't a guest. It was an asset being fattened for slaughter. You are the turkey. Your safe job is not safe. It is a ticking time bomb disguised as stability. You have a single point of failure. You have one income stream, one boss, one industry. If your company merges, if the economy dips, if an algorithm replaces you, your income goes to zero overnight. You are betting your entire financial survival on the whims of a stranger who would fire you to save a quarterly bonus. That is not safety. That is extreme, uncompensated risk. Now look at the risk taker. The entrepreneur you think is crazy. They have 10 clients. Or they have 5,000 customers buying a $20 product. If one client leaves, they lose 10% of their income. If 100 customers leave, they lose 2% of their income. They don't have a boss. They have a market. The market is volatile, yes. But the market cannot fire you. The market cannot escort you out of the building with a cardboard box. This is the concept of asymmetry. The hard worker takes a bad asymmetric bet. Upside, capped. You get your salary plus 3%. Downside, unlimited. You lose your job, your health care, your identity. The smart worker takes a good asymmetric bet. Downside, capped. You try to build a side business. You fail. You lose a few months and $500. You are back where you started. Upside, unlimited. It works, and you never have to work again. Why are you? Terrified of the second bet, but comfortable with the first? Because you have been trained to view volatility as risk. You think because your paycheck is the same number every 2 weeks, you are safe. But you are confusing stability with security. A prison is stable. You get fed at the same time every day. You have a roof. But you are not secure. You are owned. The modern economy is shifting from an employee economy to a gig creator/AI economy. The middle class is being hollowed out. The safe, administrative jobs are the first ones the AI will eat. If your job involves sitting at a computer and processing information according to a set of rules, you are on the menu. You are the turkey in October. The only true safety in the 21st century is ownership. Ownership of your skills. Ownership of your audience. Ownership of your leverage. If you are a resource, someone who just executes tasks, you are a commodity. Commodities are driven to the lowest possible price. That is why wages are stagnant. If you are an architect, someone who designs the system, who owns the leverage, you are scarce. Scarcity drives value up. You need to stop asking, is this job safe? You need to ask, am I building equity or am I just paying rent? When you work for a salary, you are renting your income. The landlord, your boss, can evict you at any time. When you build leverage, smart work, you are buying the building. It is scary to buy the building. The roof might leak. The boiler might break. But nobody can kick you out. You are clinging to the handrail of a sinking ship because you are afraid to jump into the lifeboat. The ocean is dangerous, you scream. Yes, the ocean is dangerous. But the ship is guaranteed to go down. Stop working hard to polish the brass on the Titanic. Jump. We need to have a very difficult conversation. We have spent the last 20 minutes tearing down the system, the schools, the bosses, and the economy. It feels good, doesn't it? It feels righteous to point the finger at the matrix and say, look what they did to me. But now, I want you to walk into your bathroom. I want you to turn on the harsh, fluorescent light. I want you to look in the mirror. Because the system set the trap, yes. But you? You are the one who walked into it. And you are the one who refuses to walk out. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You like the hard work. You are addicted to the struggle because it protects you from the terrifying responsibility of freedom. Henry Ford once said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably why so few engage in it. Read that again. It is infinitely easier to dig a ditch for 8 hours than to sit in a quiet room for 1 hour and figure out how to build an excavator. It is easier to answer 100 emails than to design a system that makes the emails unnecessary. It is easier to stay late at the office than to go home and face the blank page of a business plan. You use your busyness as a shield. You fill every second of your day with low-value motion so that you don't have to face the high-value stillness. If you are busy, you don't have to think. If you are exhausted, you have an excuse. You can say, I'm too tired to learn about investing, or I don't have time to start that side project. I don't have time. Stop lying. You have the same 24 hours as the billionaire you hate. You have the same 24 hours as the person who built a 6-figure business while raising 2 kids. The difference isn't time. The difference is that they faced the pain of uncertainty, and you chose the pain of certainty. You choose the pain of the 9 to 5 because it is predictable. You know exactly how much it will hurt. You know exactly when it will end. It is a safe, manageable misery. But the pain of the smart worker, the pain of the entrepreneur, that is the pain of the unknown. What if you try and fail? What if you record the video and nobody watches? What if you launch the product and everyone laughs? That is the fear that paralyzes you. If you work hard at your job and fail, you are a victim. You can say, the economy is bad, or my boss is a jerk. You get sympathy. You get to be the martyr. But if you step out of line, if you try to build leverage and you fail, that is on you. You can't blame the system anymore. You have to blame your own judgment. And your ego cannot handle that. So you choose to stay poor. You choose to stay tired. You choose to be a noble slave because it protects your fragile self-image. You would rather be a hard-working failure than a risk-taking failure. There is another lie you tell yourself. I don't know how. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to edit video. I don't know how to invest. It is 2026. You are holding a device that contains the sum total of human knowledge. You can learn nuclear physics on YouTube for free. You can learn to code in Python in a weekend for $0. Ignorance is no longer a tragedy. Ignorance is a choice. If you don't know how to do something today, it's not because the information is hidden. It's because you are lazy. Yes, I said it. You are lazy. You work hard at your job, but you are intellectually lazy. You are willing to sweat for someone else, but you aren't willing to read for yourself. You are willing to destroy your back, but you aren't willing to strain your brain. You are a lion who has convinced himself he is a sheep because he is afraid to hunt. So, look in the mirror. Stop blaming the rich elites. Stop blaming the unfair economy. The door to the cage is unlocked. It has been unlocked the entire time. The only thing keeping you inside is your fear of what's out there in the wild. You are waiting for someone to come and save you. You are waiting for a politician to pass a law, or a boss to give you a raise, or a lottery ticket to hit. Nobody is coming. The cavalry is not coming. The rescue boat is not coming. You have two futures in front of you. Future A, you keep your head down. You keep working hard. You wake up one day and you are 70 years old. Your joints ache. Your bank account is mediocre. You look back at your life and realize you spent 50 years building someone else's castle. You were a good employee. You were a nice person. And you are forgotten. Future B, you stop. You think. You face the fear. You start building leverage today. It's scary. It's hard. You might fail. But at least you are the captain of the ship, not the guy rowing in the dark below deck. The person in the mirror is the only one who can make that choice. And right now, that person is choosing to die poor. Are you going to let them? Close your eyes. I want you to imagine you are 80 years old. You are sitting in a chair by a window. The room smells like antiseptic and old dust. You are holding a cup of lukewarm tea. Your hands are shaking. You look back at your life. You see 40 years of commuting. You see 40 years of sitting in a cubicle. You see 40 years of saying, "Yes, sir." You see thousands of weekends that felt too short and thousands of Mondays that felt too long. You paid off the mortgage 3 years ago. You have a little bit of money in the bank. You were safe. You were a good citizen. You worked hard. And now, sitting in that chair, you feel a scream building in your chest that you don't have the breath to release. Because you realize that you traded the only life you will ever have for a safety that wasn't real. You realize that you were a battery that the system used up and threw away. You realize that the hard work didn't buy you freedom. It bought you a comfortable cage until you were too old to fly. Open your eyes. That 80-year-old is you. It is the ghost of your future. And that future is rushing toward you at 60 minutes an hour. But here is the good news. You are not 80 yet. You are here. You are now. And the cement hasn't dried. You have a binary choice to make right now. Not a wish. Not a maybe. A choice. Option A, the path of the mule. You close this video. You tell yourself I'm crazy. You tell yourself, It's too risky. You go back to work tomorrow. You keep your head down. You keep hoping that if you just carry enough buckets, the river will eventually come to you. You stay in the linear trap. You accept that you will always trade time for money. You accept the slow, dull ache of mediocrity. If you choose this, stop complaining. Never complain about your boss again. Never complain about your bills again. You chose this. You signed the contract. Enjoy your pellets. Option B, the path of the architect. You decide, right now, that hard work is no longer your religion. It is a tool, and you will never again use that tool to build someone else's house. You don't quit your job tomorrow. That's stupid. That's reckless. You keep the job, but the job is no longer your life. The job is your investor. The job is the venture capital firm funding your real life. You use the money from the job to buy your freedom. You use the hours between 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. not to watch Netflix, but to build leverage. You learn the skill. You write the code. You record the video. You buy the asset. You start building the pipeline. It will be hard. It will be lonely. Your friends will go to the bar, and you will stay home to work on your business. They will call you boring. They will call you obsessed. Let them. Because in 5 years, when they are complaining about their boss at the same bar, you will be on a flight to a place you don't need a return ticket for. You will be checking your phone to see how much your assets made while you were in the air. This is the shift from hard work to smart work. Smart work is painful at the beginning. It requires you to think. It requires you to fail. It requires you to look stupid. But the reward is ownership. When you own the leverage, you own your time. And when you own your time, you own your life. The world is changing. The era of the loyal employee is over. The era of the sovereign individual has begun. The tools of creation, the printing press, the broadcast tower, the factory, are all available to you for the price of a laptop and an internet connection. You have no excuse. The only thing standing between you and a life of absolute freedom is the lie you've been told about what work is supposed to look like. Burn that lie. Stop taking pride in your suffering. Stop wearing your exhaustion like a badge of honor. Nobody cares how hard you worked. They only care what you built. So, here is your final instruction. Don't just work hard. A donkey works hard. A gear works hard. Think hard. Plan hard. Build hard. The door is open. The chains are off. The Skinner box is unlocked. You can walk out anytime you want. So, why are you still sitting there? Get up and start building something that belongs to you.